Hello, friends. My name is Joseph Mafofo, and this is Rambling Catholic. Welcome to the first video, season 1, episode 1. What do I believe as a Catholic? There are two types of people that come into the Catholic Church, or two types of people that, if you go to the Sunday Mass, you're gonna meet those two types of people. One is the Credo Catholic, the person that was born by parents that are Catholics, and they've grown up being Catholic, and they've matured as Catholic people. Right? In that first group, you'll find two types of people. One is the person that actually takes time to read and understand what the Catholic faith is. Another is the person that tends to follow basic things that other people have told them. Right? Whether or not it's actually Catholic, it doesn't really matter. For them, it's Catholic because that's what they grew up doing, that's what they used to, that's what they see everybody around them doing. The second group is the converts to the Catholic Church. I mean, those numbers have gone down these days, but it used to be a high number where a lot of people would convert to the Catholic Church basically because of the beauty of what we see in the Catholic Church, in the Catholic teaching, and all that it stands for. Right? But all of those groups, the first and the second group, in a number of the trainings that they were provided to them. I mean, even as a Credo Catholic, before you start receiving the sacraments, well, not the baptism because you're baptized as a baby, but your first communion, you have to go through Catechism, right? And then the second group, converts to the Catholic Church, as they come in, they go through a period of catechesis where they are catechumens, and they start receiving right from the first sacraments, the sacrament of baptism, after which they go to first communion, and then after that, confirmation, and the other sacraments beyond that. In the old days, what used to happen is we had a question and answer catechism, which was very simple, right? And I've stuck with that catechism up to now, and that is this book over here, right? This is the Baltimore Catechism. It's a basic question and answer book that goes through the items of faith and teaches you, as a Catholic person, the items of faith and what we all believe. Part 1, on the end of men. It gives you question and answers. And part 1, first page, question number 1, who made the world? Question number 2, who is God? Question number 3, what is man? So it starts off very, very basic. And then it progresses throughout to things like our Lord's passion, death, and resurrection and ascension, where it's asking you questions like, what did Jesus Christ suffer? On what day did Christ suffer? Progresses, it takes you through a journey of understanding from the simple basics all the way to an advancement in your faith, where once you have understood this book, right, the question and answers, once you have understood this book, it's going to be easier for you to understand other books in the Catholic Church, understand items of your faith. Right? So for me, this was the book that that was the book from which we did our catechism. From the time I was a very small boy. Right now, I'm 48-year-old man. 2023, I'll be turning 49. The generation that I grew up in was also a mixed generation, in which things started happening, in which other places teaching of the catechism was not based on any ordered format, but based on the ideas of the person that was teaching. I mean, this was at the time when we witnessed churches being demolished internally, the architecture in the inside the church. I mean, I grew up at a time when I was a young guy when the altars were being destroyed and reconstructions were being done, and parts of the altar you would see thrown around like in the flower gardens because of the influence of Vatican II or the spirit of Vatican II. Whether that was misunderstood, whether that was priests that didn't understand what Vatican II stood for, we're not going to talk about that here, but as I grew up, this is what I saw. And at that time, people were also coming up with their ways of what it is that the Catholic Church, the Catholic people should believe. Right? But if you stick to this, stick to the Catechism of the Catholic Church, the Baltimore Catechism, which is simple, you're going to understand the basics of your faith. Right? There are other catechisms. I mean, there's a lot of catechisms that have come along the years, mostly starting in the 1200s. The old Catechism of the Council of Trent, the Catechism of St. Pius X. There's so many Catechism of St. Joseph. So many catechisms have come. And I heard recently there is a work that is bringing up a lot of those catechisms. Let me just see. Into some kind of a compendium of the catechisms of the Catholic Church, and it brings in a lot of these good works. And I think it's been held by a number of the greats in the church, like Cardinal Burke, Bishop Schneider, and people like that. So I'm looking to get my hands on that catechism. But basically, if you go through this from page 1 to the last page, you're gonna basically understand what the Catholic Church is all about, not the hearsay that people are gonna tell you. Now, why is it that we talk about the Catechism? Why can't I just go to the Bible and just start reading the Bible? Right? I have multiple versions of Bible. The New Jerusalem Bible. I have the Jewel Reigns Bible, but this is my favorite, and I prefer using this version that was edited, I think, to a great degree in 1899 by Bishop Chalona. If you were to take the Bible as a beginner, right, and then you read the Bible, right, from the first page to the last page, what is it that you're going to see? You're going to see a lot of statements that are going to be very complex, right? It's basically like, I am a genomic scientist by training. Right? If I were to give a book, let's say this book, for example, Elements of Medical Genetics and Genomics, I were to give somebody who's never done genomics before, and I give them to read and understand this book. At the end of it, they will either come up with misinterpretations of what this book is saying on certain topics. That's number one. Or number two, they come up not understanding anything that was said there. Why is that? Because you need to be trained in a certain area or field for you to understand and to be in a position to interpret what it is saying to you. Right? The Bible is not so much a book. Right? The Bible is a collection of books that are different genres. Now, if you just pick up the Bible based on the training that you have received from whoever has trained you, you get to a point where you're gonna misinterpret a number of things, or you're gonna run into what might be, let's say, your take on certain things that are being said in the Bible to mean certain things that have been explained to you the way they have been explained by the person that taught you. Or you might start changing from what they have taught you to your own understanding because you don't have a basis, right? If you don't have a basis of understanding what is in this book, for example, for you to be able to make informed understandings of, let's say, what is diabetes, for example. Diabetes mellitus, let's say diabetes 1, diabetes 2, what is the difference, and things like that. You might come out teaching people things that are completely different from what is actually being said directly in the book. Same thing with the Bible. If you have not been initiated into understanding the Bible, and you're just using your own intelligence to try and understand the Bible, and then you go ahead and try and interpret the Bible, you're going to run into so many mistakes. And these mistakes end up being manifested as what you have seen a lot of different churches coming up. This one with this understanding of this chapter, this one with this understanding of this chapter, and things like that. This is one of the dangers of just picking up the Bible as a person that has not been trained and trying to say, I go to the Bible directly and the Bible is going to tell me all that I need to understand. Right? You need the guidance of somebody who knows what they're talking about. Right? There's certain things in the Bible that I will never dare to say that I know what it's saying. So, as a Catholic, what do? I go to the tradition of the church, to the teaching of the Magisterium, the unchanging teaching of the Magisterium, that have grown over the period of time from the first apostles to our time, right? Transmission of the Catholic faith. So, let's recap what we're talking about. As a Catholic, you need to understand your faith by picking this book up, the Catechism of the Catholic Church, and I recommend the Baltimore Catechism, and going through this book for you to understand what Catholicism is all about. After you have done that, then you will be able and you will be empowered enough to then pick up the Bible, especially the Old Testament, and try and understand what it is saying to you.